Hello everyone. Today we are going to embark on a life or death journey that many people over 60 don't realize they are embarking on every day. Did you know, just by sitting or sitting for too long, you can't move for a few minutes? No crash, no warning, just a quiet session, and then a fight to the finish. Stay until the end to understand why thousands of seniors are paralyzed, have dementia, and even die, all because of something seemingly harmless, sitting for too long. This video is not to tease you, it is to save you, and sometimes a timely piece of information can save a life. Let's get started.
I had to stop and sit down when I saw Eleanor's chart. She was 72, soft-spoken, walked her dog every morning, never smoked a day in her life, and yet she had just survived a stroke. You wouldn't have known it by looking at her. Trim, bright eyes, always smiling. But there it was. A small clot had traveled to her brain, and by the grace of timing alone, she was still able to speak and move without serious damage. But what shook me most was this: her stroke could have been prevented by something so simple, so small, that most people overlook it every single day. Sir, madam, I need you to hear me when I say this: never underestimate what you do in the first 30 minutes after waking up. Because that short window can determine whether your blood flows freely or whether it thickens, sticks, and threatens your life. I'm not trying to scare you, but I am trying to wake you up to a truth too many ignore until it's too late. Every single day, hundreds of people over 60 collapse at home in the bathroom or while getting dressed. It's not because they were running a marathon or overexerting themselves. It's because the body, especially an older one, goes through something dangerous during the early hours. Your blood is thicker in the morning. Your arteries are stiffer. Your heart, which has rested all night, suddenly has to pump faster often without any preparation. This is not just a theory. A study I read from Johns Hopkins University showed that heart attacks and strokes are 40% more likely to occur between 6 and 10 a.m. Why? Because your body has to transition from rest to alertness, and for many people over 60, that transition is not gentle, it's a shock. I've treated patients who said they felt dizzy just from brushing their teeth, others who fell in the shower and didn't even realize it was a stroke until hours later. The warning signs are subtle: a slight numbness in your hand, a bit of slurred speech you blame on dry mouth, a brief blackout you think is just fatigue. But these can be the early whispers of something more serious. And I need you to know what to look for. If you ever feel sudden weakness on one side of your body, even if it's just your fingers not closing right, if your words feel slow or heavy, or even if you feel a strange pressure behind your eyes, do not ignore it. But here's where I want you to lean in and listen closely. Because you're not helpless in this. In fact, you can change your risk dramatically just by adding one morning habit. It's not expensive. It doesn't require any equipment, and it only takes 3 to 5 minutes. Before I tell you exactly what to do, I want you to think about this. When was the last time you gave your circulation a proper wake-up? I'm not talking about splashing water on your face or standing up quickly from bed. I'm talking about actively preparing your heart and blood vessels for the day. Stretching lightly, breathing deeply, hydrating even just 300 milliliters of water in the first 10 minutes after waking can thin your blood and reduce your risk of clotting. I'm not making this up. There was a report shared by the Mayo Clinic stating that dehydration is a hidden cause of morning strokes, especially among seniors who avoid drinking water at night to prevent frequent urination. Let me say this gently but firmly. If you're skipping hydration in the morning, you're skipping a shield that your brain desperately needs. And I know many of you avoid drinking water early because you're afraid of rushing to the bathroom. I hear this all the time. But what's the trade-off, really? Yes, a trip or two to the bathroom may be annoying, but it's a small price to pay for preventing a stroke that could steal your ability to speak or move. I once had a patient named Robert, 68, retired teacher. He prided himself on routine. One day he slipped into unconsciousness just 15 minutes after waking up. The cause of small clot worsened by severe morning dehydration. After recovery, he told me, "Doc, if someone had just told me to drink a glass of water first thing every day, I would have done it." I had no idea it mattered. That conversation stayed with me. And it's why I'm here today, almost begging you, please don't dismiss this. Your morning routine might be quiet, even peaceful, but inside your body a storm could be brewing. Give your heart and brain the support they need. Start with water. Add gentle movement. Breathe. Touch your toes. Rotate your arms. Not yoga, not exercise, just motion. If you're still with me, I want to ask something from you. If you've ever felt morning fatigue, dizziness, or numbness, leave a comment below, even just a single word. Your experience might help someone else recognize a symptom in themselves. And if this message resonates with you, hit that subscribe button. I'm here not just to inform you, but to walk with you every step of your later years. Let me take you back to something you may not have thought about in years the moment you open your eyes in the morning. What do you usually do? Do you sit up slowly? Do you stretch your legs? Or do you immediately reach for your phone, rush to the bathroom, or shuffle toward the kitchen in silence? Maybe feeling a little stiff, maybe a little foggy. That moment, that small window of waking, is where your blood flow, brain oxygen, and heart rhythm all converge into what can either be a smooth transition into the day or a dangerous jump start that your body is simply not ready for. As a doctor, I've studied this carefully. As a human being, I've seen it play out tragically. And I need to tell you something that might surprise you. The single most powerful way to stabilize your brain and heart in the morning isn't a pill, a supplement, or even a specific food. It's movement. But not the kind you're thinking of. I'm not asking you to go jog or do jumping jacks. I'm asking you to engage your circulation very gently right after waking. This habit, if done correctly and consistently, has been shown to reduce the risk of stroke, fainting, and even morning panic attacks. There's a cardiologist from Cleveland who once said, "The first 5 minutes of your day can determine the next 5 years of your health." That line stayed with me, and I want it to stay with you too. You see, your muscles act like a second heart. When you move, they help push blood back toward your core, your brain, your lungs. But if you lie still for 7 to 8 hours and then suddenly stand, your brain might not get the blood it needs right away. This is why so many older adults experience sudden dizziness or worse, collapse. It's called orthostatic hypotension. Sounds complicated, I know, but what it means is simple. Your blood pressure drops too fast when you change positions, and your brain doesn't get enough oxygen in those first crucial seconds. There was a gentleman named Alan I cared for, age 74. One morning, he stood up too quickly to answer a phone call, blacked out for a few seconds, fell, and broke his hip. The injury wasn't the stroke we feared, it was the fall. But the cause? The same root issue, poor circulation after sleep. It's all connected. Alan is doing better now, but I'll never forget what he said in our follow-up appointment. "Doc, I wish I'd known I needed to warm up before standing up." That's exactly it. And I want you to hear his voice when you get out of bed tomorrow morning. Warming up doesn't have to be complicated. While still lying in bed, I want you to wiggle your toes. Yes, just that, your toes. Then flex your ankles. Move your knees a little. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Stretch your arms above your head and feel the blood move through your shoulders. You might even feel a little tingle. That's a good sign. It means your blood is moving. You're telling your heart, "I'm awake, I'm here, and I'm getting ready." I read about a small clinical trial done in Germany. Researchers asked older adults to perform a 3-minute series of bed stretches before standing. Within just 1 week, 78% of participants reported fewer episodes of dizziness, and 23% showed improved blood pressure stability in the morning. That's the power of tiny changes. And look, sir, madam, I know that the word stroke is heavy. It sounds terrifying. But what's even heavier is regret. Regret that you didn't take those 3 minutes. Regret that you thought it wasn't worth it. I've heard too many stories from families who said she was just brushing her hair, or he had just gotten up to make coffee. That's how quickly it happens. No warning, no drama, just silence. And then fear. But here's the part they don't tell you on the news, or in your medications. Your body wants to heal. It wants to protect you, but you have to help it help you. Morning movement isn't just about safety, it's about clarity. It sets your nervous system, your breath, your focus for the entire day. Patients who begin with gentle motion often say they feel more present, more alert, less anxious. And science backs that up early. Movement reduces cortisol spikes and increases endorphins. You literally feel better, more stable, more balanced. So tomorrow morning, don't just wake up. Wake up with intention. Don't rush. Don't panic. Let your body arrive. And if you've ever felt afraid of falling, or if you've had a moment where your vision blurred or your legs felt weak, please don't ignore it. These are whispers from your body asking for a little more time, a little more care. If this resonates with you, or if you're someone who already practices morning movement, share your story below. You might encourage someone who feels too old or too tired to believe change is still possible. And if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, I promise to bring you stories, strategies, and support for every stage of your health journey. I want to take you into a real moment, not from a textbook or a study, but from the quiet hallway of a rehab center in Cincinnati. There was a woman named Margaret, 69, once a school principal full of life and spirit. She'd suffered a minor stroke on a Sunday morning. She was found sitting on her front porch, her tea untouched, her eyes unfocused, and her right arm barely moving. Her niece thought she was just tired. But when Margaret tried to speak and the words wouldn't come out, they knew something was wrong. Margaret survived, thank God. But she was changed. Her right hand trembled. Her speech came slower. She was embarrassed to see old friends. And in one of our sessions, she whispered, "I used to be so sharp, I used to speak for a living." That broke my heart. And I told her the truth. Her mind was still brilliant, her courage still radiant. But I also couldn't help wondering, what if someone had told her years ago what you're hearing today? This is where I want to talk about the why, not just the what. Because maybe you're thinking, all right, doc, I hear you. Stretch, breathe, hydrate. I can do that. But do you know what you're actually doing when you follow these habits? You are protecting the inner lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium. You are lowering the inflammatory messengers that build up overnight while you sleep. You are telling your nervous system, we are safe, we are strong, we are awake. And these tiny internal shifts make a world of difference in stroke prevention. I once read a fascinating piece from the National Institutes of Health, which explained how inflammation and poor circulation are two of the strongest predictors of stroke in older adults. Not cholesterol, not even genetics, but low-grade long-term inflammation and sluggish blood flow. That's what your morning routine needs to fight. And it can. When you start your day with hydration, deep breathing, and gentle movement, you're not just stretching muscles, you're thinning your blood slightly, warming your arteries, and ensuring your brain doesn't get starved of oxygen. It's simple biology. But it's also sacred, because you are reclaiming control over something that robs millions of their independence every year. Let me be clear, stroke isn't always about bad luck or bad genes. It's often about missed opportunities, missed chances to change something small before it became something big. I've treated retired athletes who had strokes because they thought being active once a day was enough. But you sitting here listening to this, you are being given knowledge that most people don't get until after the damage is done. Let me share one more story. A Vietnam veteran named James, 75 years old, built like a tree, tough as nails. But his heart wasn't doing so well. He had high blood pressure, borderline diabetes, and he admitted he didn't take mornings seriously. "I just get up and go," he told me with pride. One morning, he got up too fast, felt his legs give way, and cracked his temple on the kitchen counter. He was lucky, no brain bleed. But his message to me, and later to his whole VFW group, was this: don't be a hero in the morning. Be humble. Move slow. That's strength too. I want you to remember that. In our culture, we're so focused on doing, on pushing, on proving ourselves. But the body over 60 doesn't need force. It needs flow. It needs rhythm. It needs grace. So please, if you take anything from this, let it be this. Your first 15 minutes of the day are not for rushing. They're for reconnecting. The people who listen to this advice, who implement it consistently, they don't just avoid hospital visits. They report sharper thinking, fewer headaches, more emotional stability, and yes, even better sleep at night, because your body responds to rhythm. Your brain loves predictability, and your heart quite literally beats more peacefully when you begin your day with calm, with breath, and with kindness to yourself. If you're sitting there wondering, is it too late for me? I'm going to tell you what I told Margaret, what I told James. No, it's not. The brain can heal. The blood vessels can recover. Your body wants to adapt, but you have to meet it halfway. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present, morning after morning, day after day. And if you're doing this already, I salute you. Please share in the comments what your first 5 minutes look like. It might inspire someone who feels alone in this journey. And if you're just starting, welcome. You are not late. You are right on time. Subscribe, stay with us, and let's walk this path of strength and healing together. There's a memory I carry with me from early in my medical career, a man named Dennis, 68 years old, who came in for what seemed like a routine checkup. Nothing alarming on paper. His cholesterol was a little high, his blood pressure slightly elevated, but he joked around with me sharp as a tack. Before he left, I remember saying, "Let's not wait for something to go wrong before we take action." He chuckled and replied, "Doc, I've made it this far without much fuss." 2 months later, he had a stroke. It wasn't massive, but it was enough to leave his left hand weak and his memory slower. He could no longer drive alone. He needed help dressing. And one day, sitting with him on his porch, he said to me, and I'll never forget this, "The worst part isn't the weakness. It's the silence in my life now. I used to be active, independent. That part of me is fading. I don't share this to scare you. I share it because it's real. And if you're over 60, sir or madam, I need you to hear something straight from the heart. Your independence is not something to gamble with. It's precious. And the way to protect it, to truly preserve your freedom in body and mind, begins with what happens before breakfast, before the noise, before the news, before the world pulls you into distractions. When you stretch gently in bed, when you sit on the edge of the mattress and roll your shoulders, when you sip warm water instead of cold juice, when you close your eyes for a deep breath and give thanks for simply waking up. You're not just performing a morning routine, you're investing in your longevity. A neurologist from UCLA once wrote, "The brain after age 60 is like a garden. It can bloom beautifully with just a little tending, or it can wither with neglect." That metaphor always struck me, and every time I see an older adult walking barefoot on the grass, or doing gentle Tai Chi at the park, or just sitting upright with dignity sipping tea and not rushing, I think, that's someone who's tending their garden. But I also want to talk to you about the science of what's happening when you don't do this. When you spring out of bed heart racing, maybe because of an alarm, or the need to use the bathroom, or a grandchild calling your blood vessels constrict suddenly. Your brain isn't fully oxygenated yet. Your heart hasn't adjusted to gravity. And this is often when a clot, even a small one, can trigger a cascade that leads to brain damage. Did you know that according to the American Heart Association, strokes are most likely to happen in the morning, particularly between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m.? That's not random. It's because blood pressure naturally surges during this time. Cortisol is high, and for someone with existing risks, diabetes, high cholesterol, arrhythmia, this early window becomes a minefield. But you can diffuse that minefield. Start by placing a glass of water on your nightstand tonight. Warm, not cold. Hydration first thing thins the blood just slightly and improves circulation. Next, take 3-5 minutes before standing to gently flex your legs, your feet, your arms. Roll your wrists. Breathe in deeply through the nose, out through the mouth. Count slowly to 4 each way. Let your system ease into motion. If you have a spouse or a caretaker nearby, let them know I'm changing my mornings. Don't rush me. Own that time. That's your time to preserve your mind, your body, your life. A small study from South Korea followed a group of seniors who did 5 minutes of breath work and stretching upon waking each day. After just 3 months, their balance improved by 40%, blood pressure fluctuations reduced significantly, and several reported better mood and less anxiety in the morning. That's the power of commitment. That's the power of 5 intentional minutes. I met a woman named Dolores, 72 years old, who took this to heart. She started setting her alarm 15 minutes earlier, not to get out of bed faster, but to wake up slower. She told me those quiet minutes before the day begins, that's when I remind myself I'm still here, that I'm still in control. Dolores used to fear her mornings. Now she treasures them. So I ask you, what kind of morning do you want? One that starts with chaos, or one that starts with calm? One that puts your heart at risk, or one that gives your brain the best chance to shine? You don't need to become someone else to do this. You don't need to become a yoga teacher or a health guru. You just need to choose presence over panic, intention over inertia. Leave a comment if you've ever had a morning where your body felt weak, where your heart pounded too hard, where you thought something doesn't feel right. You are not alone. And if you've turned your mornings around, tell us. You might give someone else hope. If you find this message valuable, share it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. This is more than just health advice. It's a conversation about how you want to live. And I am honored to be having it with you. There's something sacred about waking up and remembering you're still here, that your heart kept beating through the night, that your lungs didn't give up on you, that your brain is still yours to command. But many people over 60 don't feel this way. They wake up stiff, foggy, or with that dull ache in the back of the head, the kind that whispers, something isn't right. If that's you, I want to speak directly to your heart. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are holding a mirror not to your face, but to your daily rhythm. What do you see when you open your eyes each morning? Chaos, discomfort, or calm? I've had patients tell me they feel like they're waking up inside someone else's body, that the energy they had in their 50s, even their early 60s, feels like it evaporated. And I always say this gently, it didn't evaporate. It was slowly taken by inflammation, by poor sleep, by dehydration, and most importantly, by years of mornings spent rushing into the day without checking in on the body first. Let me share something from a WHO-sponsored review that still sits heavy in my mind. The study followed nearly 3,000 older adults across several continents and found that those who had consistent, intentional morning routines had nearly 50% lower risk of stroke or TIA over a 10-year period. And when they drilled down into why it wasn't magic, it was movement, it was hydration, it was stress control, it was rhythm. If you've ever looked at someone your age and wondered how they still seem sharp, how they walk without limping, how they remember names and birthdays while you feel like your mind's in a fog, don't assume they're lucky. Ask yourself what they're doing every morning. And often the answer is very simple. They're not skipping their ritual. There's a man I still check in with once a month. Harold's 74 years old former train conductor, smoked until he was 65, ate fried everything. But after a mild TIA, a warning stroke, he sat in my office and said, I want to be the man who walks his granddaughter down the aisle someday. Tell me what I need to change. And I told him what I'm telling you now. We started with 10 slow shoulder circles, 5 deep breaths, a single glass of warm lemon water, no phone, no TV, no radio, just music in his head and breath in his lungs. He called it his little morning church. Today he says his balance is better than it was in his 50s. His memory has improved. And best of all, he told me I'm not afraid of my mornings anymore. Isn't that what we all want? To not be afraid of our own body. To wake up and trust that our hands will work, our legs will hold us, our words will come clearly. Madam, sir, I say this with deep respect. If your body is over 60, you are in the second act of life. And the second act doesn't have to be about decline. It can be about mastery. But mastery doesn't come from motivation. It comes from habit. From showing up for yourself when no one else is looking, especially first thing in the morning. Even if you feel tired. Even if you didn't sleep well. Even if you don't believe it'll make a difference, do it anyway, because the science says it will. The lives I've witnessed say it will. And your future self, the one who still wants to cook for the holidays. Dance at weddings, read books without rereading the same sentence 4 times. That self is begging you not to skip your morning habit. Here's something else I haven't told you yet. When you form this habit, when you breathe, hydrate, stretch, and stay present for even just 5 minutes each morning, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and repair part of your body. It lowers cortisol, it improves memory consolidation, it helps digestion, it stabilizes blood sugar. It literally sets your internal clock for a better day ahead. And let me add something that often gets ignored. Stroke isn't only about physical damage. It also brings grief. Grief for your old self. Grief for independence lost. I've seen proud men cry because they couldn't button a shirt. I've seen women go silent in social gatherings because their speech slowed. It doesn't just steal function, it steals identity. But by nurturing your mornings, you are defending your identity. You are standing up to aging not with denial, but with dignity. That matters. I ask you not as a doctor, but as someone who's seen what happens when this advice is ignored. Please don't skip it. Don't dismiss it as too simple. Don't wait until a hospital stay becomes your wake-up call. If this resonates with you, leave a comment and let me know what part of your morning you're ready to change. Or share what's worked for you. It might save someone else from a silent tragedy. And don't forget subscribe. Share this video with someone you love who needs a gentle but urgent reminder. Some mornings when I walk into the hospital early, I take the long route to the cardiac unit past the rehabilitation hallway. It's quiet there at that hour, except for the gentle hum of treadmills and soft murmurs of therapists encouraging their patients. One day I saw a woman named Carol, 69 years old, trying to lift her left foot onto a 2-inch step. Her hands were shaking from effort and sweat dotted her forehead. But she looked up at her therapist and said, "I used to do this without thinking. Now I have to beg my body." That stuck with me. Begging your body. It should never have to come to that. Carol had a stroke that didn't take her life, but it took her rhythm. Not just physically, emotionally. She told me, "The mornings are the worst. My thoughts are slow. My movements are clumsy. And I keep asking myself, did I do this to myself by not paying attention?" Maybe you've had that same question. Maybe not because of a stroke, but because you've noticed yourself slowing down. Your balance isn't what it was. Your words take longer to find. Or maybe quietly you've started to fear the mornings when your legs feel like strangers and your heartbeat seems too loud. Let me tell you something that science is shouting now, more than ever. The first 15 minutes after you wake up can literally influence your risk of stroke, heart attack, even dementia. That's not exaggeration, it's physiology. Your blood pressure rises sharply in the first hour after waking. Cortisol, your stress hormone, surges. Platelets. Those little cells responsible for clotting become stickier in the early morning. If you're dehydrated, which most people are upon waking, your blood is thicker. And if you're over 60, your arteries are already less flexible. That's a dangerous cocktail. A 2023 report from the European Society of Cardiology noted a clear pattern stroke onset was disproportionately high in adults over 60 during morning hours. But in the subgroup who practiced wakeful transition, slow breathing, hydration, light stretching incidents were significantly lower. The body, it turns out, doesn't like being startled awake and thrown into activity. So let's flip this around. What can you do that doesn't require a pill-a-gym or even a perfect night's sleep? Start with stillness. Let your body wake up with you, not before you. Sit up slowly. Let your feet dangle off the bed for a minute. While you do that, rotate your ankles 10 seconds each way. Massage your calves. Close your eyes and breathe deeply into your belly, not your chest. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for 2. Exhale through your mouth for 4. Next, drink a glass of room temperature water. Bonus if it has a slice of lemon. Why? Because water rehydrates your brain, which is 75% water to begin with, and improves your blood's viscosity. Lemon stimulates digestion and helps alkalize your system gently. It's not just refreshing, it's protective. If you're able, do 5 minutes of light stretching. If standing is difficult, stay seated. Raise your arms slowly overhead. Twist gently to each side. If your back allows, lean forward and feel the stretch behind your legs. Every one of these small moves signals to your body, I'm alive. I'm in control. I'm preparing for this day with grace. I had a retired librarian, Ms. Gloria, who used to struggle with dizziness in the morning. We ran all the tests, nothing alarming, but her mornings were a mess of rushing, checking her phone, skipping breakfast, reaching for coffee before water. We worked together to build a simple routine. 4 stretches in bed, a few sips of water, before standing a pause for 3 breaths at the window. 2 months later, she came in beaming. No more dizziness. But more than that, I feel human again. Whole. That's the word that matters most. Whole. Because aging shouldn't feel like you're falling apart. It should feel like you're gathering yourself experience, wisdom, softness, strength. Don't let anyone tell you it's too late to change. Don't let your own doubts whisper that your mornings can't improve. Every breath you take consciously tells your nervous system, we are safe. We are still healing. We are still capable. Sir Madam, your mornings don't need to be a battleground. They can be a sanctuary, a place where you honor the body that's carried you this far and prepare it gently for the day ahead. If you've made it this far in the video, I know you care about your health. So I'm asking you with the same urgency I give my own patients, choose your habit. Make it sacred. Share in the comments what you'll begin tomorrow morning, and I'll cheer you on. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Each video is crafted with you in mind, not to overwhelm, but to empower. When I was younger in my career, I used to think prevention was just about numbers, cholesterol, blood sugar pressure, readings. But the more I sat with my elderly patients, listened to their worries, walked them through recoveries, and stood beside them in their most vulnerable moments, the more I understood prevention is about connection. Not just the connection between neurons or arteries, the connection between your actions and your outcome, between your mornings and your future, between how you treat your body now and how your body treats you in return 1 year, 5 years, even 10 years from now. If you're watching this right now and thinking, is it really worth it? I want to bring you into the room with me last spring. A man named Tom, 72, ex-firefighter, came in with his daughter for a follow-up after a mini-stroke. He was a proud man, a strong man. But as he sat across from me, his hands trembled and his voice cracked. I used to be the guy who rescued people, he said. Now I forget the word for spoon. His daughter reached over, held his hand, and whispered, "We still need you, Dad. You're still our hero." That moment broke me a little, not because of the stroke, but because of what he said next. If I had just taken better care of my mornings, maybe I wouldn't be here. It wasn't self-pity. It was a quiet realization. And I'm sharing that with you because I don't want you to arrive at that point. Let's get honest here, stroke doesn't always come in a flash like we see in movies. It can creep in the form of memory slips you brush off, in the form of unstable walking that you chalk up to just age, in the form of vision changes or feeling off balance or slurred speech you think was just from talking too fast. The American Stroke Association has found that nearly 30% of strokes in older adults are silent. They cause small amounts of brain damage without obvious symptoms until suddenly there's a big one. And by then it's not always reversible. But you still have the power. If your heart is still beating right now, you still have a choice. And one of the most powerful choices you can make: start your day on purpose. You don't have to do yoga at sunrise. You don't have to juice kale. You just have to stop ignoring the moment you wake up. Your morning is when you set the tone not just for the day, but for your nervous system, your blood vessels, your brain chemistry. It is when your body is most vulnerable and most open to healing. Let me say this clearly, I have seen patients turn their health around in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. Not because of expensive treatments, but because they began to treat themselves as worth caring for the moment they opened their eyes. They created habits that signaled safety. They hydrated. They moved. They stretched. They breathed. They sat in quiet for 5 minutes instead of scrolling through upsetting news. And these tiny acts done daily were louder than any drug. So what will you choose? Will you wake up tomorrow and reach for your phone or for your breath? Will you skip breakfast and rush, or sip warm water and feel your feet on the ground? Will you continue to ignore the messages your body has been whispering, or finally listen? Sir, madam, you deserve mornings that support your independence. Mornings that protect your memory, your clarity, your heart. You deserve days where you don't have to worry about falling, forgetting, or fading. But it starts today with that one habit you've been putting off. The body's not cruel. It responds to what you give it. And if you give it care consistently, it rewards you with strength, with clarity, with life. So here's my final wish for you. May tomorrow morning be the first of many where you treat your body as something sacred. Not because you're afraid of illness, but because you finally believe you are worth the effort. If this message has touched you, let me know in the comments what part you're taking to heart. If you've had your own story, a warning sign, a scare, a wake-up call, share it. Someone out there might need to hear your voice more than mine. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. There's more coming lessons, stories, and tools that I promise will meet you exactly where you are. Your second act is not about fading away. It's about stepping into your full wisdom one morning at a time.